Hey guys, welcome to Red Devils United. I'm John, and today we have a big semi-final clash against Manchester City, and the nerves are kicking in. And hopefully now we're going to get a win and see a final against Spurs. But so much to happen between now and then with today's kickoff. Today we're going to take a quick look at the potential lineup, and I think the 11 has been confirmed. So I'm going to just take a stab at that to see what we can do. But we're going to have a little look at a prediction to see who we think will win. United. And just talk about the game, talk about this man here, Bruno Fernandes. So yeah, we've got a lot to cover, but match day, it's a big day, and a lot's been happening. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We're finding ourselves in a title race, which in itself is brilliant. I didn't think we'd be fighting for the title within the second kind of full season of his tenure. I thought it might take until year 3 or 4. Liverpool didn't win the title until year 5 under Klopp. So to be fighting for it already is good. But there's a lot of games between now and April, May, when it really matters, when you still want to be in that position. But here today we have a semi-finals against Manchester City, who themselves have found really good form in the last few games, and the last game against Chelsea was very, very impressive. Really annoying how impressive it was. It's very unfortunate for us. So we're going to have to be wary of the fact that they will have confidence. They will take confidence from that performance. You look at the last game United had with City, and it was a bore fest. That the two teams set up to defend and counter-attack, except neither of them ever gave a prolonged, sustained attacking period. It was a very boring stalemate. City were the exact opposite when they played Chelsea the other day. We were the exact opposite when we went out against Leeds and absolutely blitzed them, scoring 6 goals in the process. So we are at our best when we go after teams. Obviously, when you have teams as good as City, who are as good in possession as City, they can pick you off with passes. So you have to sit back, you have to defend, and that's generally when we can be at our best, with a good, quick counter-attack. And we need to get a couple of good, quick goals, or it can get very nervy today. So let's take a quick look. What we'll do is we'll bring up our team selection. Okay, we'll have a quick look and see exactly what we could do with this. Just take a look at it here. Right now, this is not the team we have at the moment. I believe Bali is out, which is unfortunate. We do have Lindelof back in. So first things first, we can talk about that. I would have kept Bali in. He is exceptional in the last couple of games he's played. Our defence has been, solid enough. He really complements Maguire with his pace and his power. With Maguire and Lindelof, I think, it's too slow. Now, don't get me wrong, Man City, other than Sterling, they're not very quick. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka, is a great matchup with him and Sterling. And if he can keep Sterling quiet, Shaw can do a job on Mahrez, or whoever's playing on that side. And if you're thinking about, like, whether it's Aguero, whether it's Jesus, there's not a lot of pace in the striking position of City. So maybe Lindelof Maguire will be okay, but I would have liked to have had Bali there. What I would say is that I thought Ole would go with a back 5, but looking at the team, one of the lads in the WhatsApp group, they posted the confirmed 11. So when we look at the team itself, we can see, starting, we have Henderson, right? So that's that there. De Gea is playing really well, but he's showing confidence in Henderson, putting him in a semi-final and very likely a final. If we were to get through, Henderson would find himself playing in a final in April. So that would be fantastic for him. But we have Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Shaw and Maguire. So it's a back 4 he's gone for. I would have thought a back 5. I'm actually delighted he's gone for a back 4, because it means we're not sitting with too many defensive players, because Man United, I mean, we can play a back five, but it's really difficult for us because Shaw and Aaron Bissaka are not natural wing backs. They are very much fullbacks who on occasion can get forward, but they're not wing backs. You know, they're not natural starting positions of up here. They're just not. You know, when you have a back five, which would look like this, obviously not with McTominay there, but when you have a back five, you want your wing backs to be, you know, a good starting position is here. But unfortunately, what happens is, you know, you get Maguire cut over here, McTominay comes over here, and then Aaron Wan-Bissaka's position is really, really poor, and he ends up like coming in here, and he just leaves all this space behind him. So I'm really, really happy that he's not gone with a back five. Now, what I would say, he's definitely gone with two defensive midfielders. I don't think we're playing a diamond. I don't think, because this is what the diamond would look like. You know, possibly McTominay, Fred, and Pogba. You know, this could be what the diamond would look like with that formation. Now, it is confirmed. Our midfield is McTominay, Fred, Pogba, and Fernandes. So that could be one way to go about it, with Rashford and Martial up front, who is also confirmed. According to this list, it could be completely wrong. But I don't think he'll actually go with the diamond. What I think he'll do is he'll play it back two. I think he'll play Pogba up, Rashford out here, Martial and Bruno in front of the back two. So he'll have a good bit of protection in the midfield. He'll have Bruno here, and he'll have Pogba kind of coming back to crowd out the midfield. But, you know, ultimately, I think it'll look a lot like this. Where we'll occupy Man City's back line and look to counter. But if we find ourselves getting overrun in the middle, because City are playing a false nine or something to that extent, then yeah, we can see Pogba come straight back in. You know, McTominay, Fred, and we can crowd out that middle with Rashford and Martial as a front two. So two possible kind of formations with the lineup he has. Let me know in the chats which one you think it would be. I'll just bring up the chat window here and have a quick look. Rob Fox is on. He says, "Evening Johnny Pie, evening Rob. Thanks for joining live. Please send a message to the WhatsApp group. Tell them that we are live, and if possible, join in and let me know what they think of the 11 starters that Ole has decided to go with. Let me know what they think of my lineup, which we see here. Will he go with a diamond in midfield, or will he go with a midfield three and push Pogba up a bit? Very interested to hear your thoughts, Foxy, as well as anyone else who is live. Saying that now, there's a few other things we can look at. That's the lineup I think we'll go with. We do see here, and I've used this quite a bit, right? But we see here we have Pogba starting, Bruno starting, and Van der Beek yet again on the bench. Okay, Van der Beek not starting today. A lot of complaints about Van der Beek not starting, but we need to just talk about this briefly. Van der Beek is not a defensive midfielder, okay? You would not stick him in front of our back four. Okay, he could play the Fred position in the diamond, but he would absolutely not play in front of the back four. So he's not competing with McTominay for a spot. McTominay playing today is not in place of Van der Beek. And he's not competing with Matic for a spot. Okay, he's simply not a holding defensive midfielder who you would trust to sit in front of that back four. He could be playing where Fred is, but Fred provides more defensive stability than Van der Beek does. Van der Beek's main competition, whether it's in a midfield three, and we've got one attacking player, and that's Bruno. Van der Beek's competition in that scenario is Bruno, and Van der Beek is obviously on the bench in that scenario. His competition in the midfield four, like we see now, is Bruno, Pogba. And in fairness, in a list of Van der Beek, Bruno and Pogba, he's third. Literally third. So again, he finds himself on the bench. And if you wanted to replace Fred with him, you could, but it would leave yourself open a little bit. This is a very, very attacking midfield. And Van der Beek could find himself coming on later on in the match. We could make we can make 5 substitutions, right? Van de Beek come on, and if we need that more attacking scenario, but for the more defensive part of the game, and as a pivot within midfield, Fred for me starts. Fred's form has actually been great this season, and I think United have only lost 1 game he started all season, with the best away record in the league, and that's because he predominantly plays. I have to say, Fred for me deserves his place, but we can make 5 subs. Now let's look at, and I love doing this, but let's look at the potential substitutions that could be made in a game, right? If we're losing this game, Fred could come off, McTominay could come off, and we could put in Matic, and we could put in Greenwood. Okay? And now we have a front 3 and a midfield that looks like that. Far more attacking. Okay? If things are getting worse, we could substitute Martial, bring Greenwood, Rashford in, bring Pogba up, Bruno, and at that point you could bring in Van der Beek. And now you're looking at a 4-1-3-2. There is loads of different combinations, and this is only making like 3 or 4 subs. We have so many subs, Shaw for Telles, Lindelof for Bali, depending on the reason. We could bring in Matic if we're winning the game. We could bring in Tuanzebe to help shore up the defence at the expense of Pogba, and have a midfield combination like that. There's a lot of combinations Man United can do because of the strength and depth that we have. But ultimately, I want to see us taking an early lead, and then McTominay, Fred holding the fort with Bruno, Martial up top, Rashford out right, and Pogba out left. This is what I would like to see in today's game. But whether or not we do, we have to wait and see when they line up for the match. But lots of possibilities and lots of combinations. But that's my opinion on Van der Beek. He's 23. He's from Ajax. He's been in a team that got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. He plays for his country. He's not a young boy of 18. But he does find himself in an awkward position of being in a Man United midfield that is actually really strong. Okay, I mean, you can say what you want about Man United and recent seasons, but right now we're competing for the title. We're level on top with a game in hand, and our midfield and the strength and depth we have is one of those reasons. Bruno is obviously fantastic, and his form is just ridiculous, and his consistency is ridiculous. So while yes, it might be nice to rest him for Van der Beek, you don't dare attempt to do that while you're trying to fight for points, because if you lose 3 or 6 points, you're talking about game over. You're out of the race altogether. It's way too easy to drop down this table. 8th place and 2nd place or 1st place, 8th. There's like 6-7 points between them. There's nothing. So we have to keep playing the best players we can. And while McTominay and Fred and Matic can switch around, because there's not really an out-and-out best when you're talking about the different combinations in there. But with Bruno, he's the best. With Pogba over Van der Beek, absolutely, he's the best. So, I mean, Van der Beek, he's just going to have to be patient. If Pogba goes in the summer, Van der Beek could find himself then in a great position where he tries to, really get into the team, get a good run of games. But we could buy Grealish. We could buy Sancho at that stage. I mean, there's always going to be competition for places, and unless Van der Beek can really become, I don't know what he would have to become, but unless he can come into the game and affect them. I mean, a lot of people talk, he has played well when he's played. He has. He's done all right in a lot of the games, but he also started against Southampton and was absolutely muck. So, we were 2-0 down and we had to get him off. Bring on Pogba, bring on Cavani, we win 3-2, but that's the kind of thing we can't really afford to be doing. Let me know your thoughts on Van der Beek not starting today, guys. What do you think? Rob Fox says in the chat window here, he says, definitely Max Sithing. Yeah, so I mean, he's referring here, I believe, to McTominay and Fred, I think, sitting in our midfield too. And if that's the case, we have Bruno sitting in front, and we have then a front. It is a front three, but I imagine it'll look more like, you know, Pogba down here with Martial and Rashford, and it's kind of like an unbalanced midfield with a lot of space on this right that Bruno can fill in, that Fred can fill in. You know, probably looking like that. Let me know what you think, Rob, right? Scenario A, where Pogba is in a front three, or scenario B, like we see here, where we have that midfield diamond and McTominay sitting. A or B, let me know your thoughts on what you would rather see and what you think we'd see in today's game. Again, there's a lot of important players, but Bruno and Rashford are going to be absolutely vital in today's game. Like I said, home or away, it's irrelevant. There's a very good chance we will have less possession than the opposition. And because of that, fast counter-attacks with Martial holding the ball up, with Pogba doing what he can. But ultimately, Bruno and Rashford, they are on-fire players that are going to be vital. If either of them have a bad game, United could be in trouble. But if both of them have a great game, you know, we could be singing later on in the post-match reaction. It could be that good. Let us know your thoughts. And guys, as always, you can follow on Twitter. It's at @red_devils_show. Just follow us there. Have a bit of banter back and forth. Let me know your thoughts. And please, in the video down below, do us a favour. Just like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified. But we have pre-match videos every match day. I may start doing them on the day before match day to give people a bit longer to actually watch them before the match takes place. So I may start doing that. Pre-match videos the day before match day, and of course post-match reaction straight after the game. And hopefully today's will be a good one. Hopefully we'll be excited, and we'll all be talking about a really good win. Fingers crossed. So predictions on today's game. Have to say, it's a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Man United to win 2-1. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be an edgy game, a nervous game. And I think if Man United were to score the first goal, we could sit back a bit, absorb pressure, catch them on the counter, get a second. I don't put it past City getting a goal of their own. So I go with 2-1 Man United. And I swear to God, if that happens, I'll be fucking delighted. I'll be absolutely delighted. So let me know what your thoughts are and what your predictions are for today's game. You know, just throw them in the chat, and we can have a little discussion on that. Other than Rob Fox, it doesn't look like too many have joined live, so we can't really chat with anybody. Obviously in the live chat, we can't read out the comments because they're not there. So if you are watching this after the fact, thank you very much, appreciate it. But try join us live when you can, and obviously anything you put in the chat box, we'll read it out, we'll answer it, we'll discuss it, and a good chance just to have a bit of banter and a bit of back and forth. Guys, as always, let's enjoy today's match. Let's enjoy the game. We're in the semi-finals. Let's hope for a win. And let's hope in the post-match video straight after today's game we are talking about a really, really good performance, just to, you know, get ready for that Liverpool match coming up on the 17th. I'm going to leave it there. You know, it's 20 minutes so far for the video, so if you can, join me live in the post-match reaction straight after the game, and we'd love to have a discussion. Until then, thanks for joining, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.
Glory, glory, Man United! Glory, glory, Man United!
Glory, glory, Man United, as the Reds go marching on, on, on!
Welcome to Old Trafford,
It's the better of our dreams, the power and the glory of the shepherd end will sing. The lusty boys will take the pitch to marching at their feet, as the Reds go marching on, on, on! Glory, glory, Man United! Glory, glory, Man United! Glory, glory, Man United! As the Reds go marching on!
This shirt belongs to you, always has. Always will.
Chevrolet, proud supporter of Manchester United.
I know it's live. But I have nothing to say. How would one describe that performance? Shit. Dire. Pathetic. Disgusting. Fearful. Moronic. Stupid. Inexperienced performance. It was easily one of the worst performances I've seen from the team this year, which is saying something considering the performance we've had against Arsenal and Brighton. Two equally woeful performances. And while this team are currently competing for the title, I think this game clearly reflects the gulf in class between City, who had one holding midfielder and went for the game, and United, who sat back, couldn't string two passes together when they did get possession, whose strikers kept running offside for God knows what reason. Every time Rashford made a run, he was offside. The players couldn't even give it to him half the time because he's constantly offside. Fucking Egypt. And Bruno was just giving, like, his decision making today was absolute nonsense. Nobody had a good game. The goals were pathetic. The goals were poor that we conceded, but that's irrelevant. We conceded them nonetheless. Shocking performance. Every single player there should be absolutely disgusted with themselves. Ole picks a team. He picks a team amongst players who are currently joint top in the league with a game in hand. So ultimately, this team could be top of the league after the weekend if we don't play like that. And he picks the players, and then they go out, and their job is to play, and they played with fear. Every time we got the ball, we gave it away. Every time we got into the final third, we were making bad decisions, bad touches. We looked uneasy, uncomposed. And City were the complete opposite. City were composed on the ball, they were passing, they were making us chase shadows for half the game. The players themselves must have been absolutely knackered just from chasing City around. We try to press, but we don't press. One player presses, and when they do, the player has like 5 options, so he gives it to somebody, and then a player presses him, and he just gives it to somebody, and this just keeps happening over and over again. Instead of everybody not pressing the man on the ball, but actually pressing his options. So the only thing he can do is go long. And we don't do that. We don't press his options. So he has the ball and he's like, oh look, Rashford's running at me. It's alright. I can kick it to this guy or that guy or that guy. Because nobody is close to them. Absolutely disgusting performance. Rashford was shy. Kept running offside. I don't even know if you could say he was the worst player, because Bruno was probably the worst player on the pitch, but Rashford was awful. Awful. And it's really annoying because I thought first 5-6 games of the season I thought Rashford was really bad. He was scoring a goal and he was getting an assist, but his overall performances for me were really bad. And then he actually started to complement the goals and the assists with really good performances where he was dribbling past players and he was creating chances. And then today, he just went back to his shit performances where the whole point of making a run from a striking position is here's a defender and here's a defender. And what you do is you stay onside and you run between them. This Egypt was offside. He runs around the front of them, so he's still offside, and he makes his run from an offside position rather than coming in around the player to be on onside and then making his run. How is he making that run not realising I'm offside? I know I'm offside. You haven't even come onside to make the run in the first place. Absolute goon. Martial's touches were poor. His overall holding up of the ball and releasing it, didn't really matter, because every time he gave it to Bruno or someone else, they'd lose it. Bruno's decision making was absolutely pathetic. He kept shooting from 30 yards for no reason. His passing was poor. He was trying passes that weren't on. He was trying to force the play instead of just being composed and allowing the game to develop. Shaw got nutmegged in the first minute, really set the tone. But the goals, guys, let's talk about the goals. Set piece again. I mean, we must be hitting way over double figures for set pieces conceded. We're absolutely shocking from a defensive point of view on set pieces. If it wasn't for Paul Pogba and the amount of clearances he does on set pieces, we'd be absolutely murdered, because Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof are shy when it comes to set pieces. They cannot deal with a ball into the box. What makes this one worse is that it's not even a high ball. It's not even a header. It comes in front of the defence. It bounces in front of Maguire. All he has to do is put his foot through it. Clear it over the bar. Clear it out for a throw. Control it. And just walk out of the box with it. He has a number of things he can do. And he just lets it go by him. So John Stones can knock it in. It's just unbelievable. And all that stemmed from a rubbish free kick that McTominay gave away for no reason. He gets the wrong side of Sterling. Fred was there, Wan-Bissaka was there, Lindelof was there. Literally no reason to touch him, but he decides to give him a little hug instead. Gives away a free kick like a fucking Mongo. So the free kick should have never been, except for McTominay's stupidity. And then the goal shouldn't have been, except for Maguire's absolutely unbelievable stupidity. And that's the only word I'm going to be able to use in this entire video. It's just stupid. Everything was stupid. The strikers' runs were stupid. They were offside. The midfielders couldn't string a pass together. They were stupid. They kept losing possession for no reason, which was stupid. The defence were conceding chance after chance, which again was just moronically stupid. Even Wan-Bissaka's clearance header, it must have went like 6 yards. Seriously, get the ball out. You gave it straight to Fernandinho. If this game taught us nothing, it taught us how bad United can be on their day. We all know how good they can be. 5-0 RB Leipzig. Unbelievable performances, a great away form. But we're coming up against Liverpool soon. The team closest to us in this so-called title race. And if we just sit within ourselves and hide within our shells, hoping just to catch them on a break, we're just inviting pain on ourselves. We're inviting players to be afraid to express themselves and play, and play with composure and confidence. And they're not doing that. It's absolutely pathetic today. And it showed us that City are way ahead of us. And in that, they have to be the league favourites. Liverpool are so inconsistent. They're so poor. They're drawing with West Brom and Fulham and Newcastle, losing to Southampton. I mean, all teams we beat easily. I don't even think Liverpool are our nearest challengers. The nearest challengers are City, and I think they will actually go ahead of both Liverpool and United, and eventually they'll win it, because they're easily a better team right now than both Liverpool and United. And they're only, if they win their games in hand, which they probably will, they're only 1 point off us. 1 point off Liverpool, maybe 4 points off us if we can beat Burnley. And then obviously we play Liverpool, so City will catch up on either Liverpool or United. But they have to be league favourites, City, now, because that performance just showed how much more they're up for winning an individual game than Man United are. I'm just going to open the chat window. We'll just see if anyone's watching live. No doubt a couple of Liverpool fans and whatnot have jumped in there. Okay, so honestly, you're being harsh. That's a gulf in class between the two. Well, I'm not being harsh. You said it yourself. There's a gulf in class between the two. But look at the last 4 matches these two teams have played. Stephen Norman, Man United have won the last 3, or at least the last 2. So we're capable of beating them on our day, and if we go after them, we're more than capable of beating them. Today, they just didn't even They didn't even try, and then I don't know what it was with the confidence levels, but just the composure simply wasn't there. When a player on City got the ball, he had 3 or 4 options. When a United player got the ball, he maybe had 1 option, and that was closed down fairly quickly, and we'd end up losing possession. Absolutely poor. Connor Nolan says, "Come on, City." Okay, I'm not sure why Connor, a Chelsea fan, would want City to win a 4th Carabao Cup, but fair enough. Steve Norman, Martial's diving was a disgrace. Martial runs through into the box and does get touched on the knee by 2 players, one on his left and one on his right. Neither enough to be considered a foul. I'd say neither enough to be considered a dive, because if I ran through and someone hit my knee on my left leg and then also hit my right leg, I'd probably go down too. But I don't mind that. Teddy Stokes, language, John, language. Yeah, it's an adult program. These things on YouTube I have set to not for children. So no, United can absolutely wake the fuck up and cop the fuck on. We absolutely need to start playing way better, with way more confidence against the top 6 teams. We can't just think of ourselves as the team that sit back and catch them on the break. We need to start thinking of ourselves as the better of the 2 sides at some stage. If we ever want to compete for trophies, and if we ever want to compete for the league, we have to start considering ourselves as the better team of the 2 sides and just go for the win, and not try to catch them while they're going for the win. I don't understand it. Steve Norman, mistakes by United was done to players trying to force the issue. Most of the mistakes you talk about were in the second half. I'd stick to it. But that's the thing. City went at United and they played an open, expansive football, passing, composure, quick moving. They made United chase shadows. We sat within ourselves. This was at 0-0. City only done that when it was 1-0. You know? So City only did what we did. The whole sitting back and taking on a bit of pressure and then trying to catch the other team. They only did that when they were winning. We were doing it at 0-0, which I don't think we should do. I mean, it's okay to defend and catch a team on the break, but when you get the ball, you have to be composed on it. And every time United got the ball, they just gave it back like that. They just gave it back like within 3 passes, City would have the ball back, and then we were back under pressure again. We'd win it. 3 passes, City would have the ball again. Absolute nonsense. And again, this has nothing to do with Ole. It's nothing to do with anything in United other than the individual players on the day not being composed, not being aggressive, and again just chasing shadows. Off the ball they were poor with their pressing. On the ball they were really poor. I agree, a lot of the mistakes were from forcing the issue, especially Bruno's. Bruno was trying to force every pass. He was giving passes that weren't there. He had a great opportunity in the first half when he got the ball in between 2 centre halves, about 6 or 7 yards out from the 18-yard box. Rashford running through on the right. Excellent opportunity. And he just fluffs it. He just gives it this outside of the boot nonsense pass. Completely unnecessary because he had acres of space. And he just forces the issue. And then throughout the entire second half, all he kept doing was forcing the issue, which made him look really bad. And we know he's not, but he was awful today. And then Martial trying to force the issue. Rashford couldn't even get on the ball because every time he made a run, the fucker was offside. Don't even understand that. I mean, every time he passed it to him, he was offside. The amount of times Pogba or Bruno or Martial got the ball and they couldn't give it to Rashford because he was starting his run from an offside position. It just took him out of the game. He might as well play with 10 men. Connor Nolan says, John, my friend Adam Maguire said, and I quote, Harry Maguire has been the best centre-back in the league this year. Harry Maguire has been a great centre-back in recent games. And he's done really, really well for United in recent games. And up until his mistake today, he actually played quite well in the match. His positional sense was quite good. Some of his tackles were quite good. But his mistake for the goal is unforgivable. It's not just like De Bruyne shot off the post where he sat back too much, and that could have went in as well, by the way. But it's not just like that. He absolutely had a chance to clear the ball and he lets it beat him. It's not like he's on the back post and he lets it beat him. He's more towards the front post than he is even the middle of the goal. He's more towards the front post and he lets it beat him, meaning the ball is going across our entire goal frame. How he thinks that's not a problem is beyond me. Absolutely nuts from a centre half. Teddy Stokes, whose actual name is probably Richie, says, John, we had 11 shots, they had 12 shots, we had 2 on target, they had 4 on target. It's irrelevant though. The 11 shots we had, how many of them were good? Maguire's pathetic headers would be considered shots. They were woeful. Bruno's moronic 40-yard efforts over the bar are considered shots. That's 4 gone right there. That brings us down to 7. Think about how many other rubbish shots that were blocked. I mean, clear-cut chances. Rashford's shot, which was blocked, was a really good opportunity. I'd say we had 3. I'd say we had 3 maybe really clear-cut shots and opportunities. The other 8 you can forget. They were absolute nonsense, rubbish, and just, in fairness, just pretty pathetic. So having 11 shots is useless if they're nowhere. And again, only 2 on target shows how rubbish those shots were. City had 12 shots. Now, again, they had very few on target, but City had a lot more chances than simply the shots they created. You know, there was a lot of chances they had where Sterling could have pulled the ball back for Kevin De Bruyne. That would have been probably an easy goal, except he made the wrong decision. They had the goal themselves, which were from 2, well, poor United defending, but 2 good or well taken goals from their point of view, I guess. But other than, I'd say City's 12 shots, 4 on target. I'd say you could nearly call that 6 good shots for City, 1 off the post, which is off target, and 4 on target. United had probably 5 shots, 2 of which were maybe any use whatsoever. So I don't put much weight behind those stats of shots when I know for a fact United shots, the vast majority of them were absolute nonsense. Stephen Norman says, forcing the issue caused indecision. What impact can one make if you don't know if you're coming or going? I don't know what you mean by what impact can you make if you don't know if you're coming or going, but I guess in regards to forcing the issue, because Bruno would get the ball, he wasn't doing what maybe he would normally do. He wasn't doing what is set out in the game plan. And because they're forcing the issue, the strikers, whether it's Rashford, whether it's Martial, they don't know what the midfielders are going to do because they're making decisions, I guess, that Stephen is saying that is, again, forcing the issue, making passes that aren't on, trying to put through balls in that aren't there, trying to pass too quickly when you've got acres of space around you and there's literally no need to make that early pass. You could just take your time. So I guess Steve was probably saying forcing that issue is causing the United players around the guy with the ball to not know what the fuck he's going to do, and it makes sense. You could argue United players haven't turned up in big games under Ole. Results against top 6 back it up. No, actually, Steve, that's completely wrong. That sentence should say you could argue United players haven't turned up against the big teams under Ole this season. Last season we had the second best record against all top 6 teams. We beat City 3 times. We beat Chelsea 3 times. We beat Spurs. We beat Arsenal. We drew with Liverpool, and at that point we were the only team to take points off Liverpool. No one else had in the league. So we were the second best team besides Liverpool against top 6 teams. We beat everybody. In fact, we beat a lot of them multiple times. This season, a draw against Chelsea we should have won. We lost to Arsenal with the last penalty or last kick of the game. We should have won that because Arsenal are shy. So that's pretty poor. Spurs, I think you can just wipe away because we had 10 men for 80 minutes. We were never going to win that game with 10 men for 80 minutes. But yeah, Arsenal, absolutely a poor result. Chelsea draw was a poor result when you consider we should have won. We drew with City, that's fine. We can see today that clearly they're a better team than United, so that draw doesn't look so bad. But Spurs loss, Arsenal loss, Chelsea, City draws. We beat Leicester, we beat Everton, we beat Southampton. All these teams are in the top 6, and we beat them all. We beat Aston Villa, they're all in the top 6. So really the only teams we haven't beat would be Spurs and Arsenal. Arsenal, who I think we can all admit are not really top 6 at the moment. And Spurs, well, we were missing a man for 80 minutes of that match. So I don't agree with that. Although I would like better results against the top 6 this season. But last year we were by far the best, or one of the best teams against top 6. So I don't agree. How did Jogba play? So I think, Pogba didn't have a good game. He did play better than McTominay. He did play better than Bruno because he made less moronic passes and he made less moronic decisions with, shooting from 30 or 40 yards for no reason. But he also didn't really impact the game at all. A lot of that can be put down to Rashford making stupid runs offside and the players around him being shit, but he also was equally shit. I'd say the best player for United today, you could argue, maybe Fred. He probably did the least bad things in the whole game. Maybe Shaw. Hard to tell. Steve Norman, he was one of their better players, but they were overrun. I think Steve's referring to Pogba, and I think Pogba was one of the better players. He controlled it more than anyone else. He probably lost possession less than anyone else, and he probably completed more successful passes than anyone else in the team. But they were overrun in midfield. I mean, Chelsea decided to play with literally no strikers, and our defenders didn't know who to mark, and our midfield was overrun. And McTominay was fairly useless in today's game. Fred, I think, did what he could. He wasn't as bad as other players. But Pogba, he didn't impact the game as one would want. But when Bruno was having a bad game next to you and everyone else is having a bad game, it is really hard to impact it. Steve Norman, 4 semi-finals. Well, Steve, as a Klopp fan and a Liverpool fan, you would understand that when your team, you guys, Klopp didn't win his first trophy for 4 years, and he didn't win his league for 5 years. Before that, I think you lost 2 semi-finals, 2 finals, possibly 3 finals and 2 semi-finals. So getting to semi-finals is in itself good, but you do obviously need to take that next step. You do obviously need to get to the finals and then hopefully win, and that will create that winning mentality. Liverpool did it. They got to a number of finals and they kept losing, but then eventually they won one, and they can build on that. And United, 4 semi-finals, great to be in them. Really now we have to start taking that step up and winning at least 1 or 2 of them. We have the FA Cup, we have the Europa Cup still to play, so we'll see if we can get to the semis of either of those, and if we do, it's a case of whether or not we can win one. And fingers crossed, I pray to God we can. And hopefully Ole and the team and the players learn from this, that sitting within yourself in a one-off cup game does not deliver results, that you need to just go out and win the game. If you go out and fight and give it everything and go at the team and you still lose, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's a cup game. But if you go out and try to win and lose, no problems. It's if you sit within yourselves and you're afraid to play like the players seem to be today, then you deserve to lose. Dwayne Morgan says, big games as in semi-finals, etc. Don't think he meant Premier League. Yeah, no, probably, yeah. In big games, United, and I tell you what, Dwayne and Steve, it's not just big games within semi-finals. Within the Premier League, I don't think top 6 teams are big games. Like I said last year, we beat nearly every single top 6 team multiple times. Didn't win us the league. This year we've had a poor enough record against the top 2. Arsenal, Spurs, maybe we should have beat Chelsea. But beyond that, we've beaten everyone else. But we find ourselves close to being top of the league because we're beating the lower teams, and that's really our bread and butter. And that's what will help win a league. But we do seem to have this issue with big games. And when I say big games, semi-finals, absolutely. But also, when you see a weekend where Liverpool have dropped results, Spurs have dropped results, Man City have dropped results, and then United play after them, we tend not to take advantage. Last season, we constantly didn't take advantage of a winning situation when other teams drop points. This season's, a lot of the times, we play first, we win our game, And then others have dropped points, and it's like, oh, brilliant, Man United came out really well at the end of that weekend. But when other teams play for us, and we know, oh my God, if we win this game, like Burnley this weekend, and this game will take us top of the league, or this game will take us into top 4, whatever the case may be, we tended to bottle it each and every time. And that is a worry, that is a concern, and we need to really overcome that. And hopefully Burnley this weekend will be another occasion where we can overcome that big game. I mean, Burnley aren't a big team, but the game is huge. This gives us a chance to go 3 points above Liverpool before we play Liverpool. That's huge. And it's not the moment to bottle it and drop 2 or even 3 points against Burnley. So I agree, Dwayne. I agree, Steve. In some big games, i.e. semi-finals, but in my opinion, in games against lower teams where we can take advantage of other teams' performances, we also bottle them. And all of those things, the semi-finals and these big league games like this weekend, this morning, we need to overcome that and start winning. Roy Keane just said the same thing. There's 1 or 2 players off what they need to win the big games. They are. Think about who. First of all, I think Bailey should have started today. I think Bailey complements Maguire way more, and I don't mean has to be Bailey and Maguire. It could be Bailey and Lindelof. I think you could take either Maguire or Lindelof out, but Bailey should start next to either one of them. As long as he's fit, he complements one of the other two really well. But you take the defence, Wan-Bissaka did a bit of a job today. Shaw wasn't too bad. Maguire's mistake was obviously moronic. But ultimately, Bailey, Lindelof. It's McTominay was terrible. Martial and Rashford were both really poor, but we all know that they can be really sensational on their day. Rashford maybe more so than Martial. Martial is a bit more hot and cold than Rashford tends to be. But you take out, Cavani's obviously suspended. But if you take out McTominay and put in an incredibly good defensive midfielder, I'm talking about a Fabinho, a Fernandinho, a Kante, olden days Roy Keane, Makelele. You stick in a great defensive midfielder in front of that back 4. You do that, and then you also get maybe a Haaland or a Sancho or a Grealish. Not all 3, but any one of those to add to our attacking team. That 1 or 2 players could really make a difference and help us compete in those big semi-finals and finals and start winning trophies, even compete for a league. I know we're competing right now, and nobody can dispute Man United are competing for the league right now. But I think this game shows us that it's going to be very difficult to be in this position in April. If we are still in this position in the league in April, I will be dumbfounded and I will be absolutely ecstatic. It'll be the best thing in the world, okay? But I don't think that's going to be the case. And I think we are 1 or 2 players off that. Klopp's final record was irrelevant in most cases. He was the underdog. I don't think that matters if you're the underdog or not. He still lost. We would have been the underdogs today to Man City, 3 times Carabao Cup champion in a row, and we lost. Doesn't really make a difference. Klopp's in 3 finals. He should win one, and he didn't for ages. Just like Ole didn't win these semi-finals. It's the exact same thing. Whether or not you're an underdog is irrelevant. Dwayne Morgan, Pogba gone in the summer. Money should be used to get a box-to-box midfielder. Dwayne, give me 2. Give me 2 outstanding box-to-box midfielders that are actually available. I would love to know what your thoughts are. For me, I think if Pogba goes, he's not a defensive player. I think we need to bring in either Grealish or Sancho for him. And I think we sell Lingard, we sell Jones, we sell Roko, we sell Mata, we sell Matic, and we use the combined fees of all of that. You sell Lingard, and we use the combined fees of all of this, and we top a little bit on it, and we use that to buy absolutely a world-class box-to-box or defensive midfielder to complement the team. And I think we buy Haaland as well. And if not Haaland, then we go for Sancho. But we need at least 3 world-class players, in my opinion. Defensive midfielder, a replacement for Pogba, which would be Grealish in my opinion, to play on that left side of midfield, and a striker slash right wing forward. So Haaland or Sancho, either one for me. Steve Norman, Bali's yet to prove he can handle a run of games in English football. You can't depend on him. He's also extremely rash. He is rash. He is a liability, but he's being great, and injuries have really, really stunted him, which is really unfortunate. But I do think he is a class centre half when he's fit. Your question is, like you said, can he stay fit for a run of games? And if he can, maybe he can prove how good he actually is. But if he can't, then Man United have to buy a centre half, because we cannot keep leaking goals the way Lindelof and Maguire have been doing this season. I mean, last season we had the third best defence in the league. We were only one goal worse than Man City, who had the second best defence in the league. So, you know, it wasn't awful defensively, but this season we are conceding some absolutely horrendous goals. And that goal by John Stones today was typical of a very poor goal from United's point of view. Niall York, Blue Moon, mate. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. City fans, City themselves, they'll be delighted. They're in their fourth Carabao Cup final in a row. I think a record that equalises Liverpool's, who won 4 League Cups back in the day in a row. City could equal that this year if they beat Jose's Spurs, which I hope they do. And we'll see. I mean, I love that City take the cup seriously. I love that they play, for the most part, their strongest teams. And because of that, I think they deserve to be in the finals. And also because of how they approached today. They went for it. They passed the ball, they had confidence, and they tried to get the win. They only sat back when they were 1-0 up. United were sitting back at 0-0. And really that's not the way to approach a cup game, in my opinion. Unless it's against, like, you know, Barcelona or something. Steve Norman, money talks, especially in the current climate. Every player has a market value. I'm not sure he's talking about, Steve, if you want to clarify, but yes, money talks, and in the current climate every player has a market value, but I don't know what player you're specifically referring to. Now, I did miss a comment from Steve as well. I'm going to go back and have a quick look at it. It is forget the results against them for the moment. Gauge the performances brutal against City and Chelsea, Arsenal and Leipzig in the games that mattered. Yes, and I agree. Chelsea, we had a draw, terrible. They were in a bad run of form. We should have beat them. We were better than them on the day as well. Arsenal, absolutely terrible performance against a team who went on from our win to be absolutely muck for about 4 or 5 or even 6 games. The win against us is the highlight of their season so far. They scored with a last minute penalty. If they hadn't scored, it would have been a draw, which is still an atrocious result. We should have hammered Arsenal considering how poor they've been. City, I don't consider a draw against City a bad performance. As we saw today, they're a good side and they will probably be favourites for the league, so a draw against them is not so bad. Leipzig, absolutely shocking in a game that really mattered, but also the same can be said about the PSG game, which also mattered, because obviously a point or 3 points in either one of those matches would have got us through, and we bottled both of them. And we have a habit of doing that, Steve. You're right. We are bottling it on the games that really, really count. Not just in cup games or Champions League, but also in league games. Like against Burnley this weekend. It's prime for United to bottle it and get a draw, which will still put us top. But that's not good enough. You know, against Burnley, you need to win. You need to get 3 points. And we probably would if we were sitting in 5th or if we were sitting in 3rd with no chance of going top and no chance of going 5th. We'd probably batter Burnley 4-0. But because we've got a lot riding on it, there's a very good chance we won't do very well. So we'd have to wait and see. Dwayne Morgan says, could pick up Ndidi and get rid of Matic and Fred. Ndidi for Leicester, I don't know how well he's doing this season, Dwayne. I mean, I know last season I was actually saying he's a fantastic player, great defensive midfielder. And I think last season, as soon as I said that, Leicester went into a massive plummet and fell from 2nd to 5th and really killed themselves, and that didn't bode well for Ndidi at all. Now this season he may have picked it back up again. He may be flying as a defensive midfielder, but yeah. Now, in fairness, Fred has been great for us. Fred's been great. Now McTominay is he's an academy player. You want to hold on to them if you can, but between McTominay and Fred has been far better and far more consistent than McTominay. So if I was being completely impartial, I would get rid of Matic and McTominay and bring in Ndidi. But because McTominay is an academy player, you could see Fred going instead if that was to happen. United's defence should be strong. They generally play 2 old midfielders and 4 at the back. Yeah, United's defence should be strong. First of all, they shouldn't be playing 2 old midfielders. And like Dwayne likes to remind me, neither holding midfielder are good enough on their own. They're only good enough together. And they're letting... It's not that the holding midfielders are letting through much. The holding midfielders actually do their job quite well. The problem is it creates we don't have wingers. So having 2 holding midfielders in front of our defence creates a very narrow position. And it makes teams and it forces teams to go out wide. But United's biggest vulnerability is actually dealing with crosses, whether they're high or low. We're rubbish at dealing with crosses from set piece, from open play. We're absolutely shocking. But because we have 2 defensive midfielders and no wingers, we give the opposition the ability to go wide and take advantage of our biggest vulnerability, which is crosses. And it absolutely fucks us up. Stephen Norman, you mentioned name box-to-box players available. Yes, please, name box-to-box players available. Name 2 or 3 that are really, really great box-to-box midfielders. Not just defensive midfielders, but, the old Roy Keane, Steven Gerrard, Lampard, box-to-box. There's probably very few, but if there was one, he probably cost a lot. Dwayne says he was injured. Excellent, that would explain a lot. I mean, I don't follow Leicester very well. I just know that they fell off the wagon towards the end of last season. I mean, if indeed he was injured and that's one of the main reasons, then that only stands for him. And absolutely, but Leicester are as much challenging for anything as United are. I mean, yes, United are a bigger club. They can provide bigger wages. They have a bigger stadium. They have a bigger fan base. I mean, obviously, in the world of COVID and lockdowns, none of that matters. But when fans can go back in, yes, maybe indeed you could say, you know what, I'm going to take a step up and play for United. But that really depends on whether or not Leicester would let him go. Leicester lost Maddison, Pereira, Chilwell, and another, and I can't recall during that meltdown. Indeed, he might have been injured too. Yeah, Dwayne said indeed he was injured. And they clearly lost a lot of other players, which absolutely must have added to their meltdown, must have destroyed them. And in fairness though, they've had a lot of injuries this season. They had a lot of players out at individual moments, and they've still managed to maintain some kind of fight within them, that they're still in and around that top 4 position. But there's 8 teams in and around the top 4 at the moment, so it's very hard to call. Steve Moore says, cheers Dwayne. Bar Vardy, their best players were all injured. Yeah, so I have to say, if we could get Ndidi, I think I mentioned, and you know what, it may actually be on one of my videos earlier in the year. I'd have to check, but if it's not, I have been an advocate of United getting Ndidi. I just don't think they will. But we absolutely need that defensive midfielder. Matic legs, obviously he's aging. We move him on. We get in a young or good defensive midfielder. And when I say young, I mean 24, 25, 26. We get a good defensive midfielder. We get a replacement for Pogba, be it Grealish, be it Sancho, be it Haaland, and let Van der Beek play more. I mean, there's loads of different options. But ultimately, like Steve Norman mentioned, United really have to step it up in these big games. Today, a shocking result, but more importantly, a shocking performance. Absolutely. And when I say shocking, I don't mean like I didn't expect it. I mean like really, really fucking poor performance. Which is just more annoying than anything else. McGinn looks tidy box to box, to be fair. Yeah, okay. And I'm sure there's a few out there. What I will say is that the January window is probably not the time United will do any business. We'll have to wait till next summer, and by then any other cup games and league will already be finished with. But I mean, it's It's Ole's second full season in charge. I didn't even expect to be in a title race at this stage. I was hoping for top 4. We are in a title race. How long that lasts is obviously up for debate. Our title race could be over in the next 4 games. We could literally lose against Burnley, lose against Liverpool, lose the following match, and be out of a title race before we even get out of January. But if we beat Burnley, if we beat Liverpool, and we find ourselves 6 points ahead of Liverpool and 7 points ahead of City, all level on games, that would be amazing. But whether or not that happens, I mean, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen over the next few games. I think we all know and can see very clearly from today how inconsistent United can be. But it's not just United. Liverpool being spectacularly inconsistent. You know, look at the teams that they've drawn with, and then losing to Southampton, drawing with Newcastle and West Brom and Fulham. They've been very inconsistent. City, while absolutely on a great run of form, have equally been inconsistent. As of Chelsea, as of a lot of teams that are there and thereabouts. So we'll wait and see. But today, a bad day for United, a bad day for United fans, a bad day for the players. The Carabao Cup, the chance to be in a final, it's all being taken away. So we have to brush it off, move on, because honestly, we have 2 far more important games against Burnley and Liverpool coming up on the 12th and the 17th. And we have to look towards those and really show we are in a title race. And give the fans something to cheer about after today, because I was absolutely devastated. Right, guys, going to wrap it up. Leave it with Dwayne Morgan saying, I can't even pronounce that, Goretzka, probably the best midfielder at the moment. And again, I don't see United doing much business in January, so we'll wait till the summer. But they absolutely need 1 or 2 players. But when they get them, we'll see what happens. I mean, we've saw the difference a single player can do when Bruno came in and he took our team from 10th to 3rd, and now from 3rd to joint top, if not top, after the weekend. So I mean, a couple of players can make a really big difference. It's just about getting the right ones in. Guys, thanks everybody for joining on the live one. Dwayne, Morgan, Stephen, Norman, really appreciate you joining live and contributing to the video, contributing to the feed, giving me something to talk back and forth about. Really appreciate it. As well, Connor joining in, even Niall with his little comment. Appreciate it all, lads. So thanks very much. I'll see you for the next pre-match video in relation to the Burnley game. I'll probably do it the day before the match, so I'll have a link posted soon. But yeah, thanks a lot, and we look forward to the next game. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and see you again, boys.
Glory, Man United! Glory, Man United!
Glory, Man United, as the Reds go marching on.
Welcome to Old Trafford.
It's the bitter of our dreams, the power and the glory of the shepherd end will sing. The Busby boys will take the pitch to marching at their feet, as the Reds go marching on. Glory, Man United! Glory, Man United! Glory, Man United! As the Reds go marching.
This shirt belongs to you. Always has, always will.
Chevrolet, proud supporter of Manchester United.